Welcome to episode 14 of the TarPack podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about the review of UNC versus NC State from this past Saturday. Unfortunate loss for UNC. Big time win.
Great win.
For the NC State Wolfpack. It was an atrocious first half in Carolina. What are your opening thoughts about this game?
Well, our defense came out to play. We stopped that high-power offense. We scored how many times in a row again? Like 9?
8 or 9.
Yeah. Which, I mean, was not really, like... I'm surprised we did that good on offense, but I'm not surprised we didn't... I'm still, like, not that surprised because we know Carolina's offense is horrible. What I'm most surprised is how, like, everybody's talking about how high-powered Carolina's offense is just to stop them to only 7 through, like, the second quarter. And then they score only 20 in the whole game?
Yeah, it was a very poor performance from Matt Brown and the entire team overall. Gene Chizik, I'm sorry, I think he has to be fired. That was just an atrocity. I mean, 39 points to NC State, who is not a good offense. They looked good on Saturday because it was our garbage defense defending them. But, I mean, this is not a good offense. This is, going into the game, this was the third worst offense in the ACC, and we allowed 39 to them. Our defense is the worst in the ACC, and it's got to change. I think Gene Chizik has to go.
We are on a 5-game winning streak, though. If we would have been playing like this from the start of the year, we would be ranked higher. We would be in the ACC championship. All we had to do is beat Louisville and score more than 13, which we could only score 10. As Brendan Armstrong threw like the worst interception I've ever seen before.
That's Brendan Armstrong against a good defense. But against some trash, it's like he's playing in high school again.
Well, I mean, if we would have been playing like since the Clemson game, it wouldn't even matter because we would have just won anyways. Because our team has been like the best team in the whole ACC basically since that Clemson game.
Yeah, so let's get into the top 3 players for each side. I'll start with Carolina, which is going to be very tough, honestly, because not much good happened in this game overall. I could do a top 20 worst players if you want, including the coaching staff. But anyways, top 3 players. I guess I'm going to go with Drake May. His final regular season game, he had a rough first quarter, but outside of that, he showed a lot more dog than anyone else on the team did. He just did not want to lose that final game, but Mac Brown, the staff, and the defense were not there to support him. But he had a good night. The 2 interceptions are complete flukes. They were both tipped in the air. Were they perfect passes? No, obviously not. But overall, 22 for 38, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 73.7 QBR against one of, if not the best defenses in the ACC, along with 106 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So Drake May was really good, especially considering the defense they were playing and how literally no one else in the entire team basically was helping him out. But so yeah, I'll go with Drake May there. Number 2, I'm going to go with John Copenhaver. 5 catches, 64 yards and a touchdown. He was the main guy that was getting consistently open in this game, so I'm going to go with him. And third, I will go Cedric Gray because he gave his all as well. 17 tackles, half sack, and a tackle for a loss. Good job from him. But, I mean, overall, it was a really rough night for the Tar Heels. And shout out to him again, the 6 punts for 230 yards, so good for him. What's your top 3 players of the game?
My top 3, starting with number 1, Peyton Wilson. Just such a good game by him. He had 15 tackles, a sack, interception, just everything for our team. He is one of the reasons we won all the games we really did. And I'm just saying this, I feel like he won Defensive Player of the Year. If he didn't, I would have been very mad.
Jordan Travis did not deserve ACC Player of the Year. I'm sorry. His stats were not even as close. He had a defense to help him out. Drake May had none of that. Drake May's stats were still far better. It was Drake's award. They gave it to someone different because Drake won it last year, and Carolina's defense is atrocious.
But what I was going to say is Peyton Wilson should have won ACC Player of the Year. I mean, really, if you look at the stats, there's no one on defense closer to him. This man had just the most energy on any team in the whole ACC. the most dog out of like anyone anywhere in the ACC. One of the best defensive players in all of college football. So I think he should have won ACC Player of the Year. And now my number 2, I'm going to give it to Kevin Concepcion. He had 11 carries for 55 yards, and he had 7 receptions for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. This man went for like 190 yards against Carolina, 2 touchdowns in the game. Such a good game by him. And for my number 1 player, I'm going to give it to Brennan Armstrong. He was 22.
You mean your number 3 player?
I meant my number 3 player. I'm going to give it to Brennan Armstrong. 22 for 31, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, 82.6 QBR. Running, he had 9 carries for 22 yards. Surprisingly, not his best running performance out of the year, but I mean, he really didn't need it. So
yeah, because he was able to pass extremely easy, wide open passes every single time, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of Tar Heels were falling over. A lot of them just couldn't run.
That's true. The field conditions were horrendously terrible. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not saying we deserved to win, obviously, but the field conditions were terrible. Even you can agree with that.
Well, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, your defense is really just trash. I mean,
it is trash.
There was people in the last year Carolina versus State game falling over on your own field.
And that's just what Storm Duck does, and he was the only one falling over.
Well, I mean, still. It's not like the bench players behind him are much better.
They are far better, actually.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
For an agricultural school, the fact that your grass was not tamed properly, it was either intentional or it was just a very poor performance. Karen, do you think it was a poor performance or intentional?
Well, if it was something, it was a poor performance.
It was poor. All right, so wrapping up this episode of the TarPack podcast, let's get a little transfer news in. Obviously, we talked about Carolina, but Carolina bringing in a transfer quarterback in Max Johnson, the former LSU Tiger and former Texas A&M player that is now transferring to Carolina to be the starting quarterback following the inevitable draft of Drake May this year. So that's just something I wanted to throw in there. But thank you guys for tuning in to episode 14 of the TarPack podcast. We will see you guys in the next one. Follow us on Twitter if you have not already. And we'll see you in the next one next week for basketball content. Go Heels.
Go Pat.